Okay, welcome to Soulus Mod Spotlight. So, first thing to mention is all mob spawning is disabled by default. Animal breeding disabled by default. Don't see any animals. So there's not much in the world, and that's the sort of initial state. Okay, let's talk about world gen to begin. So there's these various different things that we'll find in the world. So we've got dirt with fossils, dirt with frozen fossils, fossils and moss, and glowing fossils. So this is a regular one, right? This is normal bone chunks that we get in the dirt with fossils. This is frozen bone chunks that we get in dirt with frozen fossils. This is the mossy bone chunks that we get in the dirt with fossils and moss. This one is the dirt with glowing fossils. This, I was actually looking in the config, is actually disabled by default. It's an empty whitelist, so you won't actually find this stuff. And that's because this gives you the ender bone chunks, which is actually it's disabled by default. I suppose you could enable it, but there is a way to get it in the overworld. I'm just going to talk about the overworld generation for now, and that's because there are additional a few types of bone chunk to get. You can see we've got sand with dry, scale, and glowing. And the glowing one, as you might imagine, it's the same sort of coloration as well. This will also get you the ender bone chunks, and this one is actually default. Is actually enabled. You know, it uses the hot and dry biome tags. Also, a couple more here as well. We've got the dry bone chunks and the scale chunks. And this is also copied over for Mesa style equivalents, red sand equivalents. Dry bone chunks, as you can see, dry fossils. So it's just exactly the same. But looking here, you can see there's not actually another one. There is a gravel one though, and these are the end ones, which I won't talk about yet. There's a gravel one, and that's a scale one. So yeah, so you can get the red sand. We'll get some scale chunks, and then also getting the scale chunks from the gravel with scale fossils. Okay, I've just seen this as I was walking away to a new area. We've got 12 ender chunks. This looks like an ender one, doesn't it? Yeah, so it actually is spawning in the world, but the whitelist was empty on the config file. Okay, so if I get this normal bone chunk and right click it, you can see I got some skeleton essence. And what you'll find is if you right click normal bone chunks, you can get a range of different essence. So the most likely one you'll get, what I've done is I've just got a load of them. So you can see in general, maybe they're about level, and those two are the rarest. So you can see from a normal bone chunk we get quite a lot. We get cow, sheep and chicken, skeleton, pig, spider, bat and rabbit. They're slightly rarer, the bat and rabbit. Bat looks like the most rare. And for each of the chunks there's you right click it and you'll get various different essences. So for the frozen bone chunk you get a lot of polar bear essence, a little bit less wolf essence, a little bit less, quite a bit less stray, and actually you got one villager. Villager essence must be very, very rare, and then snow golem as well, 10. So there's that. So yeah, so that's the frozen one, and then for mossy, a lot of zombies, a lot of parrots and ocelots, and then slightly less vindicators, witch, and then the rarest seems to be mushroom there. I think it is even rarer than witch. Well, actually, it's a lot rarer, isn't it? Because they're about witch and vindicator are about the same. Okay, and then for this one is the dry bone chunk. So a lot of llamas, a lot of husks, not so much in the way of cave spider and horses for the dry one. For scale chunks, a huge amount of squid, and then very low numbers for guardian and silverfish. And finally the ender essence. So just to show you, just like this, just right click here like that. Get loads of them, so you can see a few shulkers. Got actually quite lucky the shulkers there. Endermite seems to be the big numbers that you actually get from the bone chunks there. Okay, you can make this thing, the sledgehammer, just with some sticks and some iron. And then, like a hammer, you can just grind it into dust. You can grind the ender bone chunks into ender dust. Any other bone chunk, though, just goes straight to bone meal, though. Just regular bone meal. Only the ender bone chunks will go into ender dust. Then you can mix those together, create ender iron dust blend. And if you cook that, you're going to get these, the ender steel ingots. With the ender steel ingots, you can make some ender steel bars. So these can be placed down. It can be a decorative block. And pretty cool. You can see you get the ender steel ingot there. But the main use of them isn't for that. It's if you get some more of that ender dust, you can put it in the middle, surround it with the bars, and you get an empty summoner. Okay, let's see how the spawning sort of works. So yeah, so you can see the vanilla spawners, they look kind of different, and that's because they have something called a midnight jewel inside of them. And there's various different, I think they've got various different potion effects. You see there's a glowing one as well. And this is just from the standard spawner that I found. So I think this has given me some sort of insight into how the spawners might function when I actually try them. So let's have a go trying to do a custom spawner. Okay, let's think about doing something with our own summoner then. So if we make a book with ender dust, we get a soul book. If we then mix this with, say, some mushroom essence, we get a half full soul book of mushroom. And there's a full soul book of mushroom. So we've got an empty summoner here. And you notice it says style normal. There's ways to get different styles. Let's put a soul book in there. Okay, so I believe you have to be standing within 3 blocks of the spawner, and we'll get a spawn every 10 minutes. So it doesn't sound particularly great, that. So it says, and yeah. So let's see what we can do to change that. Okay, there is the very first mob we've spawned, and you can see this is a mushroom, and it's got a normal style with water breathing, strength, slowness, invisibility, weakness, regeneration, speed, resistance. It's got various stats on it, and you can see, by the way, that this spawns. So it spawns every 10 minutes, right? And if you put a comparator output on it, we can see this basically stuff is coming out now. But if you get some of these gears, so there's different types of gears you can get. But say you put in these oscillating gears, right? So what the oscillating gears will do is it will increase the speed at which you get the spawn. So you can see already the speed at which it's spawning is going up massively, right? And you can see once it gets to 100%, then we get a spawn. I think, can I put another stack in there? I'm not sure what the limit is. No, it looks like 16 is the limit. And you can see, and then once that happens, another mushroom spawns. Okay, so I was thinking, like, interesting. So you see when I killed the mushroom there, I actually got some mossy bone. So that's kind of interesting that it retains their essence, and it actually gives you different drops. So it's really you're spawning something completely different, which is cool. And this is how you basically make the oscillating gears, right? So you can actually do normal bones, which is just normal bones. So you don't actually need to spawn anything before you make the oscillating gears. That's like an interesting thing to notice. That if I just did that recipe and then surrounded it with ender steel, I would still be able to get the oscillating gears. So yeah. So depending on where the essence comes from, you'll be able to get various different types of bone as well. So you can see there's various types of bone to get. Okay, what about this substance, glue? So bone meal, sugar, You can use ender dust as well. Okay, so what might we want to do with this? Well, if we get some ender dust, put it in the middle, and then surround it with glue, we're going to get this thing called a strange sticky ball. Okay, now let's try mixing this. So you can see it's basically, this will take anything. So yeah, if I just shift click, well I guess I'll need to, well, would I really need to do it like that? I guess I could do it like this. Let's see if it will do it. Yeah, that's a bit quicker. And I believe I can use any type of essence at all. And what this is doing is it's not actually relevant what type of essence I'm using. What it is, it's basically trying to create it into a murky orb. So this is something which looks like it's going to require quite a lot. You're going to need to do this a lot, because this will only create one murky orb. And what the murky orb will do, I'll just create one of these, because it's going to take a while otherwise. So it doesn't matter what I really put in here. This will increase the range at which I can spawn things, basically. So what's that? 100 and okay, we probably need to be exact for the last one. So there you go, you can see that's a murky orb. So you can see basically that my range from the spawner, so you can see I'm here, but once I go beyond 3 blocks away, so 1, 2, 3, you see it's not working. But then, put this in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see it's still working. Even though, so it goes from 5 to about 7, yeah, so the range, it can hold 16 murky orbs and ranges from about 5 blocks to around 70 blocks to activate. Okay, so next up we want to try to increase the number of mobs we're going to get. So we can spawn an emerald, but I don't know why you'd want to do that, because you can actually do this instead, and it would actually create the same thing. It's going to create a burnt emerald. So I believe just smelting soul sand as well will create a burnt emerald. Either way, let's take the burnt emerald, and if we go here, you can see if we just get some glue and some redstone and the burnt emerald, we're going to get a bloody emerald. Okay, so you can see that this actually is creating the same thing just with soul sand, so there's not really much point in doing that. Let's put the bloody emerald into cook as well. And then what we're going to need to do is get this, the blood crystal. Okay, so this is like a sacrificial knife or something. So let's see if I can do it. There we go. Okay, so you can see we get hunger and nausea, and you can see it's building up. You get 90 blood for each time you do it. It's actually not bad in terms of how much you get from it. Let's yeah, just have some steak. Might just be able to get a little bit more. What's that? 8 under 10. So I'm going to need. You can also kill creatures as well, I believe. So I don't know if those mushrooms have gone off anywhere. Obviously, there's no other creatures around. I do have the oscillating gears in there. Yep, that should be full. So if we kill creatures as well. 810. I think it was 810. Oh, you actually need to kill them with the. Okay, it doesn't. You actually have to kill them with the emerald. It looks like. So yeah. So there we go. Once we've got a full blood crystal, again we've got a stack limit of 16 inside the composer. So it's pretty good. So I can put that in there as well. And we should, next time we get a spawn. So we'll stand. Next time we get a spawn, we should get 2 instead. Let's just come back in 1 second. Okay, so I've had a bit of fun with this, and basically we can get a maximum of 16. So when you've got 16 blood crystals in there, that's the maximum. I tried putting in just the 1 blood crystal. I got 2 mushrooms. Now that I've got 16 blood crystals in there, I'm getting around 5 or 6 mushrooms every time we get a spawn. So you can see with this upgraded summoner, it's pretty good when you think about it. The amount of mobs you're going to get is going to be huge, because you're going to get, because of the 16 oscillating gears, I'm going to go down from 10 minutes down to 30 seconds, and that's obviously scaling. Then because of the 16 Murky Orbs, I can go much further away, from 5 blocks with 1 Murky Orb to 70 blocks with 16. And then with the Blood Crystal, I can get 2 spawning with 1 Blood Crystal up to 6 with 16. So that must be a scaling. It's obviously not every one counts to get an extra spawn. But you can see that you get a huge amount of things with that. And then if I want to just remove everything, what I would do is I would just go up to the spawner, and you can see I can take out all the stuff. And I was actually putting it in now. But yeah, there you go. If I shift right click, you see I'm getting everything out. I even got the Soul Book of Mushroom out. And that's draining not one every time, because I've had several spawns there. But it is draining the Soul Book. We'll put in all of those as well. Okay. Okay, let's try a little test with the Skewer Block. So it's made pretty simply, and you can make a lot of them basically. So what I'm going to do is, these are all blood crystals with no blood in them. Okay. So we're going to put one in there, one in there, one in this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and then on this side, I'm going to take a stack of nether quartz. So this should so I can shift right click that in, shift right click that one in, and that's the limit. Then with this, we're going to take. So we're going to want to increase the. We're going to need some gears as well. So I think maybe I'll put them in, but we'll see. The oscillating gears. So we'll put in 16 orbs, 16 gears. So that should guarantee that we're going to get a lot of spawns, right? And I suppose I could also put in a couple of blood crystals as well, just in case I happen to go out the range. It doesn't really matter. Plug those in as well. I think maybe it reset it actually when I did that. I think it did. So if you change it in any way, it will actually reset it. But anyway, let's just see what happens. So I'll go through a few oscillations of it. Oh wow, they just spawn all the way over there. Yep, you may have spotted what I did wrong there, and that is there's too many Murky Orbs in there. What I wanted to do was the oscillating gears and the blood crystals to increase the number of spawns, not the activation range, because I don't want it to activate far away. So we should still have the same speed now, but this time we're not going to get so much activation. I mean, I can put in a couple, or one. But realistically, I don't want them spawning that far away. Anyway, at least it shows that they can spawn like a huge distance away. So that's kind of cool. It's not that it's not just that the spawner itself is activated. They can spawn there as well. Okay, so let's yeah, I'll put another Murky Orb in. I'm just going to try to sort of. You know, I think probably they're not going to particularly like being on the spikes. That is perhaps a little bit of a problem here. But we're going to just put them on there anyway. Yeah, but the point is basically, if we look at some of these orbs, let's see if these have actually got anything in them at all. See, this one's got 22. So I did get a little bit out of that one, but you see these ones only get 1 for each orb. So putting nether quartz basically will massively increase. Like if you see what we've got for some of these other ones, You see it's got 3. So basically putting nether quartz into the skewers is a good idea, and obviously controlling the environment in which you're spawning the mobs as well. One more thing to clarify with this. See, I've got 102 blood in there. Each hit gives me 3. So you do actually have to smack them with the actual orb. It's not, it doesn't, that is the whole point of it. But you do get 3 each time. You can see, and it's actually quite a good way to actually build up quite a lot there. Okay, we didn't actually look at these two, the nether ones, netherite with fossils, netherite with glow fossils. So, break this, what are we going to get? We're going to get blackened bone chunks, and as you might imagine, more ender bone chunks. So not a huge amount of stuff. Then we'll do this. We're going to get blackened bone meal, and then if we use blackened bone meal on some plants, you can see we get a sort of transmutation stuff, and this gets you ash. Okay, so we combine a sledgehammer with iron. We get that. This is stuff I've obviously already shown you. The ender dust as well. Iron, and that gives us ash, ender, iron, dust blend. Okay, and then finally, if we smelt that, we will get the following, which is dark ender steel ingots. Okay, so just a final note about ender steel is, if you use a normal ender steel, you can actually create a sine wave. That's what it does. It creates a sine wave, and you can see, depending on, so you can see the speed of it here, and then you can see the speed of it there. And this one is the dark ender steel. This is basically just a random number generator. So you can see that did a certain amount. See, there's a shorter one. And you can see it's just going to create a random number. That's a medium sort of length one every time it gets a signal. Okay, now we have the Composer, which is similar to the Summoner in terms of it can be upgraded. It starts off very, very slow and can get much faster. There's a couple of items in it. I've got all the items here. So you need the Composer, which requires these Composer cells. Everything else we've seen already. And that requires those items. Okay, so let's see if I can build this thing. So we're going to start off with 9 Composer cells at the bottom. And it looks like in the corners we're going to have 2 obsidian, like this. And they're going to have ender steel blocks on top. And then I'm going to need 20 bars. So I believe it looks like it goes, so there'll be 12 here. And then I believe it goes, yeah, pretty nice kind of geometric construction for that. So there is the Composer. Okay, let's look at how the Composer actually works then. So you can see how basically you can put items on the Composer cell. So here I've made a pickaxe, right? Once I put the Composer down, you can see it's going to make the pickaxe, right? So we want to actually increase the. So it's going to, and it needs to use fuel, which is mobs. Okay, so we need to increase the speed of it. Let's actually put them all in at the same time. And you can see that it's now created it. For some reason it didn't actually... so I guess it didn't use up the whole thing. So let's try and make another pickaxe maybe. Yeah, let's just try that again. So it should at some point actually consume the mob. So you can see it's making it. Okay, I'm not sure if it will consume the mob. It should do though. Let's get some more sticks. and I should be able to put in, yeah, you can put in multiple in each one. So I'll put in quite a few this time. So yeah, it should be just carry on doing it. Making multiple of them. Should be making quite a few of these now. Yep, it's just making them, chucking them over there. But the mob seems to be not being consumed. Okay, it only has a 2% chance of being consumed. So you can just have one mob like this, and it should be enough for a while. Because obviously I just made a huge amount there. Okay, another test with this. Okay, so I put a chest in front of it this time. And you can see it's actually building up the chests in the chest. Okay, so that's pretty cool anyway. Okay, so you can also make these things, they're unloaders. You can just put, so for instance, you've got some wood in there. You can see I can make that like that. And there's some other stuff you can put in there. So if I take that out, if I put ender dust in there, and then in the other spots I put let's see if I can reach. Yep. I put this. And then, so just bricks, and it could be basically anything there. Did I put the ender dust in there? Maybe there's a piece of wood still left. Nope. Okay, you can see this is actually going to be able to make ender steel. So this is going to be pretty useful, right? And then, if you remember, we did this to make iron dust. So this does take longer, right? It takes 16 times as long. If you look at the recipe for the ender steel in the composer, you can see that it's normally saying 1 tick, and here it says 16. I think that means ticks, right? Either way, it takes longer to do it. So yeah, I think I did put in the speed upgrades as well, so it does take quite a while to do it. But we get the ender steel ingots. And then, which is really cool, is if I then take this out and I put the iron dust in here, and then I surround the iron dust with the ender steel ingots. So what I've basically just done there is I've created iron, 8 iron from just a few bricks. So that's a pretty cool way of cool way of, you know, getting a lot more stuff, and it works with just see if I can find the recipe actually that I just did that with. So it was this ender steel recipe, wasn't it? Yeah, you can see it's bricks, iron. So yeah, obviously brick and nether brick are the things you want to use for that, but a really cool way to increase your resources. Okay, there's a few more things as well, like recipes to take in mind. So for instance, if we wanted to get slime essence, we actually have to make that in the composer. You can see you need glue or slime balls, but you're not going to be getting them any other way really, so it'd probably be glue, wouldn't it? And yeah, and that way you can actually make slime essence. And the sort of lore of this is that for slime magma cubes and also iron golems, because they don't have bones, so we can look at like so we can look basically, so the magma cubes as well, they have to be done in the composer. If we look at the recipe, you can see they have to be done in the composer. And yeah, there's a lot of things. It basically, all the vanilla recipes are in the composer, obviously, because it's just like a vanilla automatic crafting table. I think a lot of what you're really, it's really to do with the sticky balls to get all that essence, because obviously you have to do it multiple times. But yeah, like I say, so the iron golem needs iron dust with ash They all require ash, those recipes. There's also another recipe that requires ash, and that is the recipe for the Midnight Jewel. The Midnight Jewel, got to be a little bit careful with this one because this actually causes damage to you. So you got a blood crystal with ash. You can see it takes a lot longer to do it, and it can actually cause some negative status effects. Okay, you can see that now I've got the Midnight Jewel in my inventory. I've got a slowness effect. So it's not good to have multiple Midnight Jewels in your inventory, but they are useful in creating Niobium, which is a late game material, but you can actually use it in both the Summoner and the Composer. So it would be basically that is the recipe. So let's make one. Oh wow, the actual effects get worse, interestingly. Alright, so we'll get that out of my inventory then. Shouldn't have too many more effects. But the advantage with that, but yeah, the Midnight Jewel, by the way, is what we saw in the spawner. You know when I was showing that spider spawner earlier, that was what was in there. It automatically had it in there. So that should get it out. Okay, so to make the Niobium, I'm just looking at the... yeah, so you can see it's a very long recipe, 512 ticks. So that would take a long time. But the advantage with that recipe, though, is once you actually get the Niobium, you can then get Niobium dust just by getting it with a sledgehammer, and then you can do similar to what I said before. It still takes a decent amount of time, so you need to upgrade all that stuff. But once you've got it, you can get the Niobium Gears. Okay, so we go for Niobium Gears now. Let's check how these gears are going to work compared to what we were using before, which was obviously the much slower oscillating gears. So we put these in instead. Shift right click. What we should find is that it's going to massively improve the speed at which it's going to work at. You would think, anyway. So hopefully that will improve the speed. And also, let's have a look at this one other thing actually while I'm here. We'll see if hopefully it will finish while I'm doing this. But we've also got the Niobium Block. Okay, so yeah, so this is basically, so for instance, say I've got, this is the Niobium Block. So if I've got signal 15, see when I turn it off, yeah, it should be 15. So yeah, basically just an inverter. Okay. This I thought would be done by now actually. But yeah, it does seem to take quite a long time to get it to work. And I don't think it's going to make much difference if I increase the range. I think what maybe it would increase it is if I can put more in there. It doesn't look like I can put more in. I think you just have to wait a little bit to get the Niobium, but you can put it in the summoner as well. You know what it is? The oscillating gears are for speed. The Niobium gears are actually for efficiency. So instead of this having a 2% chance of despawning, it would be 0.6% chance. So you need to have both the Niobium gears and the oscillating gears in there at the same time. I think is what I'm kind of drawing from that, and it will just increase the chance of this this mob staying here. But yeah, there is also the just to clarify, the Niobium gears, they with the summoner, they work by not using up the book so much. Another thing I wanted to point out is that if you look at the empty summoners, these are just different in-world structures you can find. So yeah, there isn't. I don't believe there's a way to actually craft them. Let's try and put some ender dust on the ground now. Let's try it maybe here. So you see, when you make it on the ground, it looks like this. Then you can make this thing called the ender link. Okay. So this is a way to transfer stuff over. And it should be aligned a certain way. One thing's for sure though is that if I have the essence like this, this is a much quicker way to fill it up than doing it the same than what I was doing before. So I guess this is the way you're really supposed to do it. Yeah, I mean that filled up quick, right? So I think that is probably the best way to get the orb from the sticky. Did I actually get? I think you got. Did I get two? Because I put it in completely empty and I put in one stack. Let me just check that. No, maybe I did put in two stacks. Either way, it's a lot quicker to do it that way. Can I shift click the stacks in, maybe? You can. Okay, so it's super quick to shift click stacks into that if you've got these things coming. Okay, that's cool. Good to know. So yeah, this is the ender link thing. You can see when I go in it, it does that. 1 second. Okay, yeah, it's only an anchor. It's only one way. So theoretically now, it should be going to the ender link. So if I go somewhere within range of it, maybe that's not. There we go. Okay, so I think maybe it just didn't have quite enough. So I'm just curious. It must be near the range here. Yeah, this is outside the range. So the range is not that high. Okay, but it's interesting though that I would like to be able to see if I can get one of these cows to go through. You want to go through, cow? I mean, that is certainly near enough. What I could do is just grab a lead, see if I can get him to come through. This is obviously a bit sketchy because sometimes if they go through... I think he actually went through. Yeah, he did. And the lead just broke. Okay, so that's cool. So they definitely will be able to come through the link, and I think, yeah, if I just set that up in a slightly more formulaic way, it might be better. Okay, there's one final thing actually I want to talk about now. Okay, so the final multi-block is this thing. So basically, you put these ender steel blocks, you put some of ender steel bars, and then you place this guy. This is taking me a while to understand exactly what it meant. This you make with oscillating gears, niobium ingots, and you also need this thing, the soul catalyst. And you make the and you can make the soul catalyst if I just show that with a midnight jaw. And remember, you can put that in the spawner as well. What this is it's basically like creating a way that you can do spawning when you're not actually in the location. So if you've got a system, so for instance, say you've got a system with skewers and you're killing all the mobs, you can spawn all the mobs, you can kill all the mobs when you're not around, basically. And that's what this whole thing is for. It is a confusing thing to do looking by the picture, and I thought it had purple in it, but you see when you put the actual final block in there, you can see that there's sort of purple there. And yeah. And you can put various things in there. The soul catalyst. It also will take Niobium Gears. See the Niobium Gears. That will increase the spawn. And what it should do is it should be able to control your spawner. But you do need to have the soul catalyst fuel. By the way, there's these other things, bark it as well, and they can actually break. Make sure you've made up bark. It's already broken. There's also a thing where if you get logs, you can get bark out of it. Yeah, it's like a random drop, something like that. Yeah, and that's basically it's just when you create logs, and then that's how you make the bark kit. Not a very good bucket, and completely the wrong point of the mod to describe this because we're right at the end. Okay, let's put in a completely full one. Oh! Now that's interesting. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so now it's got power. But will it be able to run? So it's certainly working now. But are the mobs spawning? Is it even if I'm well outside the range, it should still carry on spawning them? So we can see there's a few here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to TP somewhere else, and then I'm going to come back in like a few minutes and see what happens. Okay? Okay, so I've been sitting here in this place which is basically 1,000 blocks away, and now we're going to go back. And okay, so yeah, I'm not sure if more came. But either way, I mean, either way, it's pretty cool. I love that effect at the top there. It is supposed to be like a chunk loader thing, and it is really cool. It looks like a crystal or something. Really nice thing that. But yeah, that will do it. So I hope I've included. I think I've included pretty much everything in the mod. So, and like I say, because I've made the range big, it's hard to really just decide what's. I don't know. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.